Hello guys, massive news. Probably the biggest update we've ever seen in Galaxy of Heroes. No joke here, guys. Seriously, this update is incredible for so many reasons, yet it's also terrible for so many reasons. I'm going to explain that all in this video. Just a heads up, guys, this is going to be a long one, probably half an hour to 40 minutes, and we're also not going to be editing it because I just want to get this out, get the information out there to you guys. So you're just going to have to accept that as we go along. Now, let me show you the update. So you guys may have seen, you may not have seen, I was at work, I just got home literally as this update dropped. And let me get it up for you here. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. There is two parts to this update. The first is the Tusken Chieftain has been announced, and also we've had another Tusken Raider announced as well. Although there isn't a date for when they're going to come to the game. The other thing is, we've got the road ahead. Now, the video will be timestamped in case you only want to watch one section. We're going to be covering everything that has been announced today. So we're going to start with the road ahead here, which hopefully you guys can see. Let me just put it full screen. Here we go. So the Tusken faction has got a massive boost. Arnold was correct. When is he never correct, guys? This guy knows when things are coming. And here we go, guys. So we finally have a 5 Tusken Raider squad. So we have the Tusken Chieftain, which, by the way, guys, this lead looks amazing. I think you could actually use this in 5v5 Grand Arena. Now, someone actually commented in the Discord server and said, basically, is this confirmation Boba Fett Sana Django gets the tag for Tuskens? And it's actually confirmation he won't. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's just what we have to accept here, guys. Essentially, in 3v3 Grand Arena, you're going to have two teams. You're going to have the traditional Tusken team, and then you're going to have the new Tuskens with Boba Fett. Because let's remember, guys, in 5v5, Boba Fett Sana Django actually has a team. He can be used with Beskar Mando. And the fact that you can now beat Lord Vader more without the need for Beskar Mando, you can actually use Boba Fett Sana Django in that Mando team and potentially have work there. So if we have a look at the Tusken Chieftain, he is going to be giving Boba Fett Sana Django that Tusken tag in 3v3 Grand Arena, but you will need an Omicron. This does make me wonder what's going to happen in 5v5. I reckon there's going to be an Omicron on the last Tusken, which is going to make the Tusken team amazing in 5v5 Grand Arena. The other thing is, we'll get to this later, but this is a team that's going to be needed for the new raid. Again, you guys know it because Arnold said it, but it's happened. The raid has come, and this is something we'll cover. Then we have the Tusken Warrior, but we don't actually have the information about the Tusken Warrior yet. If you guys want to see the kit reveal again, there'll be a link in the description that will have a time code, and you'll be able to watch that section when we get to it and cover it. Like I said, this video is going to be very long. I hope you guys can understand that. So, let's move on from the Tuskens, although it does say Galactic Challenges, Conquest Feats, and Assault Battles. Note there's already an Assault Battle you can use Tuskens in, so that may be what they're already talking about. That's not necessarily confirmation of a new Assault Battle. Okay, so, looking at the new raid. Okay, there's good things and bad things. The first is a new raid is fantastic. It's new content, you know, and it's not just content where they just plug a new character in, which we're going to see there is one coming, and people go, oh, let's spend loads of money, and that's it. This is a new raid. This means they've actually spent time and developed something. And when you look at what they've done, they've spent a lot of time developing this, and I'm excited. But at the same time, I'm a little bit withdrawn. I'm a little bit upset. I'm a little bit angry. And I feel like a lot of you are going to be angry, and I'm going to explain this, especially for those of you who are free to play. So, the new raid is the Create Dragon, and to start with, I love the idea. Now, what they've actually said is they're only going to allow characters who have faced this in lore to participate. So, we don't know... This is the thing, guys. We don't know what gear requirements are going to be there. It doesn't necessarily say that, but it does say for teams. But what's interesting is it kind of talks about how, like, there's a guild progression system. So I kind of feel like this may be going down a Raid Shadow Legends sort of progression system in the raids, or even other games, not necessarily mobile games, and the way they work for raids, where it's more about the guild rather than the enemy. So there may be a chance that even if you don't fully defeat, I mean, it does say there's going to be phases, but maybe it's going to be based on a damage as a guild rather than necessarily beating it. which will be really interesting. We will see. So, I mean, I'll read this out to you guys. Without giving too much away, you'll be encountering a Crate Dragon. We want to let you know there'll be two separate challenges to consider when you approach this raid. First, controlling the enemy monster with debuffs, and second, dealing as much damage as possible during short windows of time. So there's going to be a guild strategy in here. In previous raids, bosses are immune to many debuff effects because they can easily disrupt and trivialize the raid encounter, also known as Vader just doing what Vader does, as we see with Lord Vader, Darth Vader, in the Sith raid where he just solos it. Two-man solo is pretty reliable. So we're introducing a new mechanic called Defiance that will require players to bring these debuffs to minimize the effects of the boss's attacks. During that time, players will want to remove as many stacks of Defiance as possible before the boss takes his next turn. Basically setting up. Now, for any of you who have played Clash of Clans, this is another mobile game I'm sure a lot of you have played, they've released this thing recently in the past year where it was like guild-focused raids on enemy bases. And the idea was that you was never intended to freestyle yourself. The idea was that you would basically set up for the next person to come in and finish. And this is basically what they're leading to here. So you're going to have the raid. You're going to have someone come in with a team to basically set up someone else to then attack while there's no Defiance. This is what I'm thinking, guys. Obviously, this isn't guaranteed, but this is what I'm interpreting from what we've got here. So there's going to be a lot of ways to work there. Now, the question is it going to be individually or guild-focused? So, for example, say I took in Lord Vader, I put loads of debuffs, and we obviously can't take Lord Vader, but for example, say you're taking a debuff-heavy team, you reduce their Defiance. Will it be me with another team who does the damage here, or will someone else in my guild have to come in and do that? So there may be strategy things there, we don't know. So during this time, the players will want to remove as many stacks. The exact list of effective debuffs and associated impacts is still being worked on, but players will be able to more fully utilize their character's abilities to find success in raids. Note, guys, because a lot of you didn't apply the new layer, Bush Layers Omicron. A lot of us thought, why would we apply it? I mean, it looks cool, but why do we need potency when we can't even apply debuffs to the rank core? Like, what is going on? Well, now we know why. And guess what, guys? Jabba is one of the requirements for this raid. So we're going to see Jabba as being super important. Now, for those of you who watched my video even today, where I actually talked about the free-to-play and Jabba being my first GL, this just backs up, guys. You're going to want Jabba. Not only does he help with mods, he's going to help with the raid. And we're going to get to why that may be problematic soon. So, moving on, the burst damage window will require players to manage big damage cooldowns to avoid devastating attacks while scoring as well as they can, maximizing the damage potential between these windows by using some of these big cooldowns to increase performance. So it's all about strategizing. It's very similar to CPIT, guys. It's interesting. It says massive damage and big damage rather than just straight up devouring. I hope that mechanic doesn't stay. Balancing ability cooldowns between damage and debuffs while scoring as many points as possible outside of these moments is where we want to create a great deal of space for theory crafting and optimization. I can tell you guys now, as soon as this raid drops, I'm going to be focusing so much. I like Grand Arena, I like territory battles and territory war, but my favorite area of Swgoh is raids. And that's why you'll see a lot of my content is raid focused, you know. I spend a lot of time, working on CPIT, and now we have something else to work on. So you're going to see so much content, guys, when this gets released. So as with all raids, we expect the event to be a challenge at first, but you'll figure out how to do it over time. We're going to be part of that, hopefully. So who can you bring into this raid? Now, I love this, guys. Hutt Cartel, Jawas, Mandalorians, Old Republic, and Tuskens. Now, here's the thing, a lot of you aren't going to have these teams. You may have Old Republic, you may have Mandalorians. I would expect that. But you're not going to have Jawas. You're not going to have Hutt Cartel, and you're going to have Tuskens. So, here's the thing. Out of these teams, Hutt Cartel and Jawas are the ones that are debuff heavy. Possibly Old Republic, especially if we get any new leads or any new characters. Because, unfortunately, if you're running Mandos, you're going to be using Canderous there. But if you Canderous with the Old Republic, you're going to be giving loads of debuffs there. Unfortunately, Revan's going to be in this, but you're not going to have the Jedi to support. So I reckon, just based on initial assessments, Hut Cartel Jawas are going to be your ones to apply the debuffs, and then your heavy damage ones are actually going to be Tuskens and Mandalorians. Although we will look at the Tusken kit for the new leader, and we may change our mind as we go on. Hint, I've already read it, but I still think this is what it's going to be. Now, here's the thing that I don't like, guys. Future raids may also be thematically limited as well. So this is going to be another case of datacrons. If this is only for 3 months, this is not good. If this is for 6 months to a year and then we get a new one, I love this. Because then, you know, you can still farm the characters, you can plan for the next one. But if this is for only 3 months, then, guys, guilds are going to struggle. And this is why I think we're going to see it go to more of a raid approach, where you still get rewards as long as you're progressing and participating. Because I don't think the aim is for the small guilds to miss out completely. And I also don't think the aim is for the big guilds to just win instantly, but there's still going to be a reward structure, I think. And I'll explain why when we get there. So, general raid changes explained. Well, to begin with, guys, I'm going to summarize it and say CPIT's gone. So you have the original 4 raids are remaining. So you're keeping the original H-Pit, you're keeping the Sith raid, you're keeping the tank raid, and unfortunately CPIT is gone. Now, here's the interesting thing, guys. So they're going to keep these as legacy raids. And to make things streamlined, you're only going to be able to run 1 raid at once. Now, this is what I don't like, because it doesn't outline perfectly here. If you're a new player, are you going to have to choose between Han Solo shards, Traya shards, or General Kenobi shards? This is kind of problematic. So we don't... I mean, maybe I've missed it in when I was reading this, but I'm just a little bit worried that new players are about to get shafted big time. So, yeah, if you can only run one raid at a time, this could be problematic. Now, obviously, we need to account for the fact that they may just boost the rewards. They may also make other ways of obtaining these characters. But for new players, you may get shafted too. So they're going to change it to a points-based system. Or change it from a points-based system. So as you know, currently, say for the Sith raid, the top 10 people will get the best rewards. Everyone else just has to deal with the scraps. They're going to change this, and I like this, and they're going to go to a more of a guild-based system. So you're going to have a guild track and an individual player track. Now, in the player track, you are still going to be getting rewards in a similar fashion to currently how you obtain them. But in a guild-orientated one, you're still going to be getting rewards based on how the guild performs. And this is where I think, like I said, we're going to see more of a, not necessarily completion, but a progression-based one. The other thing is, like it says, the Legacy is going to have 4 phases. The Crate Dragon will have a single phase. Now, this is the thing I was saying earlier. So, Legacy raids are staying the same with phases. The Crate Dragon's only 1 phase, guys. So, because of this, I think it's going to be tough. It's almost going to be like there's phases within it, because we know that as the battle continues, maybe there's going to be health thresholds, and maybe things happen there. So a raid will only complete after enough attempts have been submitted. Players will no longer be able to transition between phases in the middle of combat. So there's, like, this is the thing. There's no... They are changing the way raids are working. Attempts will have a maximum possible score, which will scale with difficulty. So we're going to see easy, hard, very hard. We see how this works. Once the score is reached, the attempt will successfully end and the player will be able to submit their result. Basically, what they're doing here is they want to prevent soloing of Galactic Legends. I think this is a good thing, guys. Because if we're moving more towards a guild progression system, we don't want someone with a Kylo finishing the raid. We don't want someone with JMK finishing the raid. It would be nice to have people be able to work efficiently and coherently as a team to see results. The final phase of each raid will stay open as long as the raid is active. This allows guild members to submit all attempts, as many as they can. Now remember, this is also applying to legacy raids. So now, thankfully, the Sith raid isn't going to be dominated by those SLKRs. 1 raid only. This is the thing I don't like, guys. As mentioned above, to streamline, we're going to focus on completing the latest experience and not juggling multiple raids. I like this because it means hopefully the raid we get will be well thought out and not like CPIT, where it's kind of like, it's what we've already seen, and very quickly counters and strategies and ways to work through the event came about. So hopefully we'll actually see something more focused and better for us as players to be able to enjoy. So one of the biggest changes in the updated raid system is that you'll only allow guilds to run one raid at a time. You can still pick current raids, guys, but the guild no longer needs to worry about running multiple raids concurrently. I'm very worried that new players are going to get screwed. As a side note, raid simming is now gone. Now, what I think is going to happen is you're going to be able to up the difficulty more than you did before, even on the legacy raids. So maybe you can get like 30 or 40 Han Solo shards from the raid. Maybe they boost it that way, then it's not bad. And then you do have the fact that new players can progress through the raids, which they do actually outline this further down here, where you start with H-Pit and you move to the AAT, and then you move to the Sith raid, and then you move to the Crate Dragon. I think that would be nice, because then it kind of teaches you raid mechanics, because obviously each raid has different mechanics, but they all build on each other, and to be successful in these raids, you need to understand and develop your knowledge of the raid, and raids in general. You need to work out what teams work, what leaders work, because whilst it's not like Grand Arena, raids do have a formula. There are teams that work in certain situations, and this is something you pick up with knowledge and experience over time. So hopefully this is something we see. So in an effort to streamline inventory management, we've gone ahead and made raids have a single starting ticket. I'm kind of a fan of this. No longer do you have to worry, do I have C-Pit tickets? Do I have H-Pit tickets? Now it's all on one go, which will be used to launch all raids. There'll be one raid ticket to rule them all. Once the raid comes out, other raid tickets will be removed, and each guild will have the new ticket maxed, so you can dive in straight away. And we will be diving in for sure into the new raid, and I'm going to be posting content day one. Most likely I'll work out what day this is, maybe book the time off work so we can stream it, and I can show you guys everything on the day. So reward system has changed. We no longer wanted players to compete against guildmates. We have spoken about this already, guys. There's going to be a guild track, and there's going to be an individual track. So maybe if you perform really well, maybe you will get all those shards that you need. The other thing is, someone made a good point. Where is the Relic 8 mats going? They're going to be in this raid, guys. I'm almost certain. The other thing is, this may be a situation where we're seeing relic changes and we don't even know it, but we'll get there soon. I'm also hoping that there's a new character in here, but again, we'll cover that when we get there. So guilds will be rewarded based on how many points your guild earned. There we go. That's basic confirmation of what I was saying earlier, that if the guild does not complete 100%, you see, guys, I have read this. I just didn't want to, spoil the ending. Sorry about that, guys, but yeah. We're going for a very different format. I love it. While we reduce the amount of locations where you can earn rewards, we're taking this into close consideration. Actively participating in a raid, regardless of difficulty, will earn rewards for the personal track that equal and replace the old simmed rewards, ensuring that all players retain access to these goods. Playing at high difficulty to earn more points will steadily gain access to new additional rewards. So there is going to be a way, but I just don't like the fact that it locks you to one at a time. Guild members will receive the same rewards at the end of the event. One attempt must be made for eligible rewards. Rewards earned on the individual track can be claimed immediately when earned. I worry that this is going to lead to like a individual track pass plus. I'm very worried if we get really long raids down the line, which I would be a fan of if we got like a month-long raids, and then at the end of the month you got something big. But I'm worried that we may see some sort of monetization there. This is very much like leading towards Conquest, where we get the initial thing, it looks awesome, we try it out, it's amazing, and then they start to monetize it once people are invested. So we're going to get a new raid currency. And whenever a new player joins a guild, they are subjected to a lockout period. I think this is to deal with people murking, potentially. Players can participate in any raid that is started after the lockout period expires, but you're just not going to get rewards. Limited faction use per raid. So we'll be limiting the factions you can bring. I like the idea. I just don't like the implications it has on smaller rosters. If you're someone like me, or someone who's like 7 million plus GP, you're probably going to have these teams. But it just sucks for you guys that don't, because you just have to sit here and watch. And this is why I don't think there's going to be relic requirements. I'm not sure, because I feel like it will just block everyone out. Or maybe, depending on the difficulty, then the relic requirements become a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the hardest difficulty is like all relic land teams, if that is a thing. But hopefully it is. Raid base difficulty. Here we go, guys. Base difficulty will be about Gear 10, Heroic Sith Raid. And raids have additional difficulty modifiers that increase the raid and total points. Difficulty modifiers are selected per player per attempt. You can submit different attempts at different modifiers. So this is where the individual tracks come in play. So my guildmate could play on the Gear 10 difficulty. I could play on the higher relic difficulty. We'll see. Hopefully the rewards are worth it. So limited successful attempts per player. So it's really trying to limit you so you don't get too much. Obviously, they're worried about people just taking number one spot, taking all the rewards for themselves, and just running away with the raid. But don't be afraid to try different variety of modifiers. You can always re-choose, and it's going to be a little bit conquest. I'm not sure how I feel about this, guys. It's a cool thing, don't get me wrong, but like I said, there's a lot of implications it's going to have on many players. Legacy raid changes. These are now legacy raids. They can now use the new raid system. Guild reward tracks of all members receiving the same rewards. Their final phase will end once the boss has been defeated, like they currently do. They won't have individual reward tracks. Also, non-heroic now have a 3-day timer. They do not end early when a raid is completed. And this is kind of nice for people in starter guilds. They do talk a little bit about the starter guild only launching tiers of the pit raid. I think this is okay because starter guilds you should be learning. Like I said, the mechanics and the way you work in raids, this is something you learn over time. Okay guys, so here we go. There's so much to cover. Like I said, this is going to be a really long video, but hopefully I detail and explain everything the way you need. So we're going to have the Pit Raid, Tank, Civ, and Crate Dragon. And obviously the Crate Dragon will be something that swaps and changes over time. We're also going to be removing Challenge Rancor, and there's going to be a Raid Blackout before release. Additional changes. Raids will now run their full duration regardless of how quickly you complete the raid. Raids are no longer able to be abandoned. This allows for the rest of the guild to still earn points, and we have overhauled the events screen to include the raids, and they are now accessible from the events table in the cantina. You can now not only access solo events from the screen, but your guild's activities such as raids, territory wars, and territory battles. You can now view the guild info screen from your own guild. Well, that's interesting, guys. I've always been interested about why you couldn't do this. Okay, on to the next section. And for those of you who have actually skipped to this section, you want to know about Cal. And I want to know about Cal because I'm likely going to get him day one. I'm debating it. Maybe if enough of you say in the comments, like, Glurmit, get Cal day one, I'll think about it. I just need a little bit of motivation to do so. Cal is obviously one of my favourite players in Star Wars. Characters. My apologies, guys. I'm so excited. A few mistakes here and there. And I'm sure he's one of yours as well. Now, obviously, this is the tie-in with the new release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, tinfoil hat time. Did they really delay a big game like Jedi Survivor just so they could have Cal released at the same time? Probably not, but I like to consider it my headcanon. So, Fallen Order Journey starts with Cal. And it basically tells you a little bit of information about him. So he's an unaligned Force user trying to hide his past from the Empire. As part of his abilities, BD1 will bring some much needed medical attention to the squad. I think that may be like a seventh sister kind of thing. And then we're going to get Seer. We're going to get Merrin. I love this. I also think Merrin's going to have some synergy with Night Sisters. I also think Asajj Omicron's about to get busted, potentially. And then we are extremely excited that the hero's journey will culminate with Cal Kestis Survivor. Needless to say, this version of Cal will be forced to be reckoned with. Now, I'm kind of a fan here, guys. I'm kind of a fan. Basically, it's talking about how he's going to be in Senate TV. There's going to be a whole new world added. So TV's suddenly amazing. Rise of Empire. You can now add different worlds and progress, and it just adds so much life to the game. 5 new characters from the Jedi Fallen Order universe. Use these characters for conquest feats and territory battle bonus zones. New territory battle planet for the Rise of Empire. Cal Kestis mission on Bracca with Seer. And finally, thank you for reading. It's going to be a busy quarter to jump from Tatooine to Bracca to Kashyyyk and many more planets. But we'll have another installment of The Road Ahead in April where we'll dive deeper into New Raid and maybe drop a few more exciting announcements. And guys, there's something to take from this that a lot of you may miss. Kashyyyk. We're about to get more Wookiees. So all of a sudden, Zalbar, and I talk about him on my streams. I love Zalbar. I think he's a fantastic character. He's about to get crazy because we're going to get more Wookiees 100%. And that's the Road Ahead, guys. There's so much information to break down there. And now we have even more to do because we have to look at the new Tusken. So, like always, marquees come out on a Thursday. I think it's Thursday anyway. This comes out today with Tuesday, so it should be in 2 days. Now, this is an Omicron that I think I may actually apply. Because it's... I've spoken about this before, guys. When there's an Omicron that takes a team that you don't use and it makes it very good, I think that's the best Omicron you can get. So, for example, let's take a look at an Omicron such as Tusken Raiders, the current one. It's a great Omicron for me because it makes a team that I have geared because of relic requirements for GLs, and it makes them go from useless to usable. And for me, that's worth it. Now, this is interesting, and this is basically the confirmation that Boba Fett, Son of Jango will not be getting a Tusken Raider tag anytime soon. They may change this, but this is what I'm implying here. So, Tusken Chieftain, he's dark side, he's support, he's leader, and he's Tusken. And he has a Zeta on the basic, which is Ceremonial Dance. Call a random other ally to assist, doing 50% more damage. Grant Tusken allies 2 stacks of momentum for 3 turns. Notice how there's no damage here? I think we've got a C-3PO style Tusken here. Special 1, Token of Respect. Grant all Tusken allies protection up for 60% for 2 turns, dispel all debuffs on them, and reduce their cooldowns by 1. And then we have Unique 1, Ancestral Claim. Whenever an enemy recovers health or protection, inflict 1 stack of damage over time on them for 2 turns. Whenever an enemy takes damage from damage over time, Tusken allies recover 10% health. Tusken allies are immune to damage over time effects. So there may be some teams we can run this against. And then we have the Zeta and Omicron. Whenever an enemy gains bonus turn meter, grant Tusken allies 1 stack of momentum for 3 turns. Tusken allies gain 20% defense and tenacity for each stack of momentum on them. Whenever a Tusken ally is targeted by an enemy and they have at least 10 stacks of momentum, remove all stacks of momentum, stun all attacking enemies for 1 turn, which can't be resisted, and the target Tusken ally takes a bonus turn. Now, note in 5v5, this is why I think this would be good. You could target, you know, that Tusken. Can't pronounce his name, don't judge me, guys. And he could then give everyone another turn, because he can give the turn meter. For each stack of momentum removed this way, there's a 20% chance, plus 5 per relic amplifier, max 50, to inflict a stack of damage over time on each enemy for 2 turns. Now, I think there's going to be something coming here, guys. So, here's the Omicron. While in 3v3, Boba Fett, Son of Jango counts as a Tusken. So if it's the Omicron, we're not going to see Boba Fett, Son of Jango get a Tusken tag. But he basically does in 3v3. So he counts as a Tusken. And if there's no character that summons at the start of the battle, so you can't use the current Omicron, Boba Fett, Son of Jango's payout is active and he can't lose momentum stacks except through expiration. Now note, guys, you're gaining 20% defense and tenacity for each stack of momentum. Now, Boba Fett, Son of Jango, if you guys know his kit, and I'm going to get it up in the game for you here. I'm on the free-to-play, apparently, but it doesn't really matter. If we had a look at his kit here, he is dealing different stuff based on his momentum. Now, remember, he's not going to be losing this, but he's going to be losing it over time. That's fine. So, for example, if we looked at his basic... abilities gain additional stacks based on the number of this. So this is kind of okay. And if we looked at Dual Barrage, at 9 stacks, all Bounty Hunters or Scoundrels gain tenacity up. At 5 stacks, all Bounty Hunters or Scoundrels gain tenacity up for 2 turns. And then gain 1 stack of momentum and all that fun stuff. We then look at the Bounty Breaker. And 3 stacks, his ability deals 25% more damage. 6 stacks, his ability deals 25% more damage and inflicts tenacity down. And at 12 stacks, his ability deals 30% more damage, inflicts tenacity down and potency down. And at 16, the ability deals 30% more damage and inflicts breach. See, this is kind of where Boba Fett, Son of Jango is going to go crazy, because it's all about the momentum of him. And then even if we look at, say, his unique, whenever he gains a stack of momentum, he gains 5% turn meter. So he's going to be a turn meter train here, guys, at all times. And then finally, we'll look at his unique here, which is going to be doubling his momentum gains. I think he's going to be very, very good in this lineup. That's the honest truth. So this is the end of the video, guys. What do you think? What are you most hyped for? The Tusken Chieftain, which obviously is awesome. I'm not gonna wail for him. I may Omicron him, take him to Gear 11, and just run him with Boba Fett, Sar Django, and GAC. For me, the big thing is Cal. I like the new raid. I'm a massive fan, but Cal's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. And yeah, like I said, if you really want to see day one Cal, just leave a comment. Not only to tell me to get Cal, but just so I know you guys actually watched to the end of the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing. And I hope you'll have a glowing day.